There's a silent rule that governs every environment you enter, whether it's a boardroom, a negotiation table, or even a casual gathering. Power is not distributed evenly. It concentrates on the few who project undeniable presence, while the rest fade like shadows. You don't get dismissed because you're quiet, polite, or humble. You get dismissed because you've been training yourself into invisibility through habits you didn't even realize were erasing you. Machiavelli never wrote for the masses. He wrote for the rulers, the ones who understood that survival and dominance are determined by signals, not intentions. And when you carry the wrong signals, the powerful don't even need to reject you. They simply never register your existence. In this lesson, you're going to discover 13 habits that silently strip you of authority, and if you don't destroy them, they will destroy your ability to ever command respect. The first test of power begins the moment you cross the threshold of any room. Before a single word leaves your mouth, your body has already spoken on your behalf, and for most men, it delivers a silent confession of weakness. Shoulders caved in, chin tilted downward, eyes darting for safety, movement small and hesitant. This is not humility. It is preemptive surrender. You believe you're blending in, avoiding offense. But what the powerful see is a man who has erased himself before battle has even begun. Presence is not about noise, it is about projection. And when your body collapses inward, you radiate absence. You send the signal, I am no one. You don't need to measure me. To those who scan the room with predatory awareness, you are not even an opponent. You are furniture, you are space filler, and nothing more. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He taught that appearances are weapons, that image precedes action, and that men who fail to master appearance are already conquered. A weak entrance eliminates you before you've had the chance to fight. This is why powerful people can dominate silently. They walk in and immediately claim the environment with expanded presence, deliberate stillness, and eyes that do not wander. They don't need to shout or posture. The room bends instinctively because their bodies broadcast confidence and inevitability. Contrast this with the timid man who shrinks as if apologizing for existing. His bent shoulders whisper insecurity. His downcast eyes announce, I don't belong here. His folded hands beg not to be noticed. This is self-erasure disguised as politeness. Understand this truth. Every environment is an arena. When you enter, you are tested, not with swords, but with posture, not with words, but with energy. If you collapse, you lose before anyone strikes. To kill this habit, you must reverse the instinct. Enter with shoulders squared, chin parallel, and eyes that deliberately scan as if you are weighing the space, not begging it for permission. Don't rush. Don't creep. Walk as if you belong, because belonging is never granted, it is assumed. Presence begins where apology ends. From the instant you cross the door, you are either expanding into the environment or shrinking from it. There is no neutrality. To collapse inward is to volunteer for invisibility, and the powerful never waste attention on ghosts. Words are not neutral. They carry the weight of how they are delivered. A man can say the strongest sentence, but if it escapes his mouth wrapped in hesitation, it will be discarded before it even lands. This is the second way you erase yourself, by speaking with an apologetic tone. Every rising intonation at the end of your sentences, every soft filling the silence, every nervous laugh trailing off into nothingness. These are signals. They whisper, I don't fully believe what I'm saying. I am asking for permission to exist in this space. To powerful people, that tone is not invisible, it is radioactive. It screams that you are beneath them. Not because of what you said, but because of how you said it. And once they hear apology in your voice, they don't hear your argument anymore. They hear your weakness. Machiavelli would call this the misuse of weapons. He saw speech not as conversation, but as strategy, as an extension of force. Words are blades. They cut, they wound, they impose reality, but only when wielded with precision and certainty. When your tone collapses into apology, your blade turns into a toy, blunt, harmless, forgettable. Powerful people tune you out within seconds. They are not evaluating your ideas. They are evaluating whether your presence commands weight. And when your voice leaks insecurity, you are disqualified before you finish your first sentence. You think you are being polite, respectful, careful. What they see is a man begging for consensus, a man who signals, "Please approve me." And approval seekers are never respected. The antidote is brutal simplicity. You must retrain your voice to remove every trace of apology. Speak in flat tones, not rising ones. Let your words end like a period, not a question. Reduce filler words until silence does the heavy lifting. Silence is not empty. It is a weapon. The man who can leave space unfilled communicates certainty. The man who rushes to explain communicates fear. Power listens to cadence, to rhythm, to delivery. And when you master those, you no longer need volume or speed. You can whisper, and it will still cut sharper than a shout. Machiavelli knew, authority is not in the content of words, but in the posture of speech. Train your tone to move like law, measured, calm, final. Because once your voice stops asking for permission, people stop treating you like someone who needs it. Laughter is never neutral. It is a social weapon, a signal of alignment, an offering of submission disguised as friendliness. The third way men erase themselves is by laughing too easily, too often, and for the wrong reasons. You think you are being agreeable, building bridges, softening the edges of interaction. But what the powerful see is surrender. A nervous chuckle at an insult, a quick laugh at sarcasm, a grin that appears before you even decide if something is truly funny. Each one is a crack in your armor. Each one says, "I need your approval. I'll trade my dignity for your comfort." And once that trade is made, you are marked. You're no longer an equal. You are entertainment. You are the one who will always smooth tension for others, never create it for yourself. Machiavelli understood the cruelty hidden inside human interaction. He would warn you, those with power test you constantly. They push with words, with tone, with subtle disrespect, not to wound you, but to weigh you. When they say something borderline insulting, they aren't waiting to see if you're offended. They are waiting to see if you laugh. And if you do, they learn everything they need to know. You are not dangerous. You are not anchored. You are dependent. In their eyes, you have confessed, "I'd rather be liked than respected." From that moment, they stop taking you seriously. They know they can bend you without resistance. You've become invisible as a threat, visible only as a jester. To kill this habit, you must unlearn the reflex of nervous laughter. Let silence become your shield. When someone makes a comment designed to test you, don't smile. Don't chuckle. Don't even shift your posture. Let the air grow heavy. Let tension expand until it makes them uncomfortable. Stillness unsettles more than any retort. And in that silence, you reclaim your power. It tells them, "You cannot control my reactions. You don't decide when I bend. You don't get to script my emotions." This is the Machiavellian truth. Control is never about reacting faster. It is about reacting less. Laugh when something is genuinely worthy, not when it's demanded. Never laugh at your own expense. And if respect is your goal, understand this. The one who laughs first loses. The one who holds still makes others question themselves. And questioning is the beginning of power. The fourth habit that makes you invisible is the compulsion to over-explain. You are asked a simple question, and instead of answering directly, you unravel into paragraphs. You add disclaimers, backstory, examples, apologies, and endless context. You tell yourself you're being clear, that if you just explain long enough, they will understand you. But the truth is darker. Over-explaining is not clarity, it is insecurity. It's the behavior of a man who does not believe his words carry weight on their own. And when you don't believe in your own authority, no one else will. Powerful people do not hear detail in your explanations. They hear desperation. They hear a man so unsure of his position that he must justify his right to speak with a flood of words. And the more you speak, the less value each word holds. Machiavelli would tell you this: control is lost in excess. The more you explain, the more you reveal your hand, the more you surrender control of perception. Brevity is not just efficiency, it is dominance. A concise answer commands the room because it signals certainty. A long, wandering explanation invites doubt because it screams that you are trying too hard to be understood. And the powerful have no patience for men who narrate their thoughts like nervous podcasters. They don't respect the flood of words. they filter it out. To them, if you need that many sentences, you have already admitted you're not worth listening to. Presence is diluted by over-communication. The correction is brutal but simple. Speak like your time is expensive. Answer with finality, not justification. Deliver the sentence, then stop. Let silence hang in the air as if your words require no companion, because silence is not emptiness, it is pressure. When you stop speaking, the weight of your statement grows. The powerful are forced to process it. They lean in, not because you demanded attention, but because you left no excess for them to ignore. Think of your words as currency. The more you print, the less each one is worth. But when you speak rarely and decisively, every phrase becomes gold. Over-explaining is a leak of presence. Precision is its weapon. Master it, and you will no longer beg to be understood. You will make understanding unavoidable. The fifth habit that erases you from the eyes of the powerful is waiting to be included. You sit at the edge of the table, half present, hoping someone notices you. You linger in silence, waiting for a gap, waiting for permission, waiting for someone else to hand you validation. This is not patience. This is self-banishment. Every moment you sit in hesitation, you send a signal. I am unsure if I belong. Someone else must decide for me. To the powerful, this hesitation is fatal. They don't see modesty. They don't see humility. They see dependence. And dependence is the death of presence. Machiavelli warned that a man who relies on others for his recognition will always remain their servant. Power never waits to be granted. It assumes its position. It walks into the room not asking but claiming. Understand this. Powerful people do not go out of their way to draw you in. They are not scanning the room to rescue the hesitant. They are watching for signals of weight, signals of authority, signals of initiative. If you wait to be included, you broadcast the opposite. You become background noise, a ghost waiting for acknowledgement that will never come. The truth is brutal. Opportunity does not knock for the man who sits quietly. It only responds to the man who inserts himself with decisive presence. To wait is to be forgotten, and once forgotten, no second chance arrives. The correction is not arrogance, but decisiveness. You don't interrupt to beg for space, you contribute to claim it. You don't hover at the edges, you anchor yourself in the center of the moment. Offer value quickly, then let it echo in silence. Speak once with weight, and you will be remembered longer than the man who filled the air with endless chatter. Machiavelli would remind you, value is not discovered by others, it is declared by you. Stop waiting for permission to exist. Stop hoping someone will hand you a turn. The room belongs to the man who assumes it, and if you do not claim it, someone else will. Waiting to be included is the slowest form of self-erasure. Presence does not wait. It arrives. The sixth habit that makes you invisible is apologizing for your standards. Every man has boundaries, how he spends his time, who he allows close, what he will and will not tolerate. But the weak man treats those boundaries like fragile glass. The moment someone questions them, he begins to explain, to soften, to backtrack. He offers long justifications for why he said no, why he prefers this instead of that, why his limits exist at all. And in doing so, he exposes his standards as negotiable, as something that requires defense. To the powerful, this is not strength, it is weakness disguised as reasoning. Because what is law if it trembles under questioning? What is a line if it is erased at the first sign of pressure? By apologizing for your standards, you reduce them from principles into preferences, and preferences can always be ignored. Machiavelli understood the mechanics of power. He knew that strength is rarely about morality, but always about perception. A man who states his limits with finality, without explanation, creates gravity. His boundaries feel sacred, untouchable, because he treats them that way. A man who apologizes for his standards, however, communicates that his no is not a law, it is an opinion seeking approval. And once your no requires validation, it is no longer a no, it is a suggestion. The powerful don't respect suggestions. They respect silent conviction. They respect what does not move, and they instinctively test those who do. The antidote is to strip the apology from your limits. When you say no, let it stand naked, unprotected, unapologetic. Decline without justification. Refuse without narrative. Walk away without signaling pain. This does not make you cold, it makes you immovable. Your standards are not a performance. They are not up for debate. They are the framework of your presence. And when you stand by them without flinching, you create an aura of law around yourself. The powerful recognize this instantly because they operate the same way. They know boundaries are not explained. They are enforced. Machiavelli would call this the calibration of power, the ability to project strength not through aggression but through silent certainty. Never apologize for your standards, because the moment you do, they stop being standards and start being excuses, and excuses erase you. The seventh habit that makes you invisible is overusing praise. Compliments feel safe. They feel like a shortcut to connection, a way to soften the atmosphere and secure approval. You say things like, "That's amazing," or "Great job," or "You're so impressive." You flood conversations with admiration, believing it builds rapport. But the powerful don't hear generosity, they hear dependence. Every excessive compliment reveals a silent confession. I need you to like me. I need to attach myself to your glow so I can matter by proximity. And in that instant, you are marked not as an equal, but as a subordinate. For the powerful, this is predictable psychology. The one who praises without restraint is the one easiest to control. Machiavelli would dissect this dynamic with cold precision. Praise, when given too freely, loses its weight. It becomes noise, background chatter that signals not authority, but weakness. The man who compliments excessively is not respected, he is tolerated. His admiration no longer feels like recognition, but like currency he spends cheaply to buy inclusion. Worse, the powerful know that the more someone seeks approval, the more they can be bent, tested, and exploited. And once you are seen as a man who flatters to belong, you are no longer someone who must be respected. You are someone who can be used. The correction is discipline. Praise should not be reflexive, it should be strategic. Hold it back until it carries weight. When you finally give it, let it be specific, rare, and delayed. Not "great job," but the precision of that decision shifted the entire outcome. Not immediate flattery, but recognition that feels earned. When your praise costs something, when it is given sparingly and deliberately, it transforms from noise into signal. And signals are what the powerful respect. Machiavelli would call this the economy of admiration. What is abundant loses value. What is scarce creates demand. Stop scattering empty compliments into the air. Start treating praise like a weapon. Wield it rarely with precision, so that when it lands, it commands attention, because a man who praises too much disappears into the crowd of sycophants, but a man whose rare words of recognition carry weight becomes impossible to ignore. The eighth habit that makes you invisible is mirroring too much. You've been told that mimicking body language, tone, and rhythm builds connection, that adjusting yourself to match the person in front of you makes them feel comfortable. And it does, but at the cost of your own presence. Every time you copy their laugh, adopt their slang, match their volume, or mirror their posture, you are sending a dangerous signal. I will become whatever you need me to be, as long as you accept me. To the powerful, this is not rapport, it is desperation. It tells them you have no edges of your own, no unshakable identity, nothing that stands independent of their influence. And when your shape shifts to fit theirs, they stop seeing you altogether. You blend into their shadow. You dissolve. Machiavelli would laugh at the weakness in this habit. For him, power was not about blending, it was about distinction. Visibility is the result of contrast, not similarity. If you echo another man's every move, you cease to be a figure and become a reflection, a copy that holds no value of its own. The powerful don't respect reflections because reflections don't resist. They don't test their own gravity. They simply bend, conform, disappear. Worse still, mirroring too much doesn't just erase you, it marks you as controllable. A man who adapts instantly to the tone of another has confessed his priority, not to stand firm, but to be accepted. And the moment that is known, your presence is dismissed. The correction is not to oppose for the sake of opposition, but to anchor yourself so deeply that you remain unmoved. Keep your natural tone even if it clashes with theirs. Don't adjust your posture just to smooth the atmosphere. Let tension exist, let difference breathe. Stillness in the face of contrast communicates solidity, and solidity attracts curiosity. Machiavelli understood this well. The man who does not bend to fit is the one others bend toward. Presence is not created by dissolving yourself. It is created by staying whole in the midst of pressure. When you mirror too much, you fade into the background. When you anchor, you become a landmark, and landmarks cannot be ignored. The ninth habit that makes you invisible is showing gratitude first. Gratitude, when timed with precision, is powerful. It acknowledges value. It seals alliances. It strengthens bonds. But when offered too early, it backfires. The moment you walk into a room and your first words are "thank you for having me," or "I really appreciate your time," you have already confessed something you should never reveal. I believe this interaction benefits me more than it benefits you. And in that instant you shrink. You position yourself as the lesser party, the one grateful for access rather than the one who brings value. Powerful people don't hear politeness in that moment. They hear hierarchy. They hear your self-ranking. And once you've admitted that you are beneath them, even unconsciously they believe it. Machiavelli would see this as a fatal miscalculation. He taught that perception is everything, and that the way you present yourself dictates how others calculate your worth. By leading with gratitude, you don't signal humility. You signal dependence. You reinforce the illusion that you don't belong, that you must be thankful just for existing in their presence. Gratitude at the wrong time is submission dressed as courtesy. It is an unspoken bow. And in power dynamics, bows are remembered long after words are forgotten. The correction is ruthless. Establish parity before gratitude. Enter with the posture of someone who belongs. Speak with the weight of someone who has something to give, not something to beg for. Let your presence announce mutual value before your words confirm it. Gratitude should be delayed, measured, strategic. When it comes after you have already established authority, it becomes respect. But when it comes first, it becomes weakness. This is why the powerful rarely thank you up front. They let the interaction reveal equality before they acknowledge it. Machiavelli would remind you, influence is never granted to the man who crawls to get in. It is claimed by the man who walks in as if the room was incomplete without him. Gratitude, when weaponized, elevates, but gratitude given too soon erases. The 10th habit that makes you invisible is the constant search for emotional safety. You enter conversations, scanning for friendly faces, soft tones, approving nods. You measure reactions to every word, adjusting mid-sentence to keep the air smooth. You laugh when you're uncertain, soften when there's pushback, retreat when there's tension. You believe this makes you diplomatic, agreeable, socially intelligent. But to the powerful, it makes you forgettable. Because a man who fears conflict announces that he is not built for weight. He is not built to shape the room, only to serve it. Machiavelli knew this truth. The one who cannot endure discomfort will always serve the one who can. And the pursuit of emotional safety is nothing but an addiction to comfort disguised as tact. Power thrives on friction. The powerful are willing to create tension without apology, to say the thing that unsettles, to ask the question that destabilizes. They know that silence, discomfort, and even confrontation bend reality in their favor. But when you rush to smooth every edge, you rob yourself of gravity. You become the social janitor, cleaning spills that weren't yours, neutralizing energy that could have been leveraged. To them, you are not a presence, you are a cushion, someone who keeps the room comfortable at the expense of his own influence. And comfort is never respected. It is consumed, then discarded. The correction is this. Stop fearing the burn of tension. Let your words land without cushioning them. Let silence stretch without rescuing it. If someone reacts poorly, do not rush to fix it. Watch them sit in it. The man who does not bend to preserve emotional harmony is the one who begins to radiate authority. Because authority is not found in pleasing, it is found in being immovable. Machiavelli would tell you that those who cling to safety die unnoticed, but those who create unease, who are unafraid to let the air grow heavy, are remembered. Not because people liked them, but because people could not move them. And immovability is the beginning of power. The 11th habit that makes you invisible is avoiding physical space. You think crossing your arms tightly, tucking your legs, lowering your shoulders, or keeping your gestures small makes you look polite, non-threatening, or humble. But what it actually communicates is submission. Your body is broadcasting the message, I am not here to dominate, I am not here to claim, I am not here to matter. And in any room where presence is currency, this posture bankrupts you instantly. Machiavelli knew that before a single word is spoken, power is already distributed by posture. The man who occupies space commands it. The man who shrinks into corners erases himself. To the powerful, your voice no longer matters because your body has already announced defeat. Think of the environment as an arena. The powerful enter it as if it belongs to them. They stand upright, shoulders squared, eyes steady, arms open, movements deliberate. Their very body tells the room, I anchor this space. I am part of its center. The weak man, however, behaves like a guest overstaying his welcome. He minimizes, hides, makes himself smaller. He is not seen as respectful. He is seen as irrelevant. A man who refuses to take space physically will never take space socially, emotionally, or politically. Presence starts in the body, and if your body does not project authority, your words will never compensate for the absence. The correction is clear. Stop apologizing with your posture. Sit with your frame open, feet grounded, spine aligned, chin parallel to the floor. When eyes turn toward you, do not flinch. Let them rest. When you stand, stand like the ground belongs to you. Your gestures should be measured, but expansive enough to signal ownership of the moment. This is not arrogance, it is anchoring. The powerful don't ask for a seat at the table. They take it, and their body tells the room they belong before their words ever do. Machiavelli would remind you that space is a battlefield. If you surrender it, you have already lost. But when you claim it, silently and unapologetically, others feel your weight before you speak, and weight is what power respects. The 12th habit that makes you invisible is over-identifying with your good intentions. You tell yourself, I didn't mean to sound weak, I didn't mean to seem uncertain, my heart was in the right place. And you assume others will recognize this, that they will see beyond your signals into your hidden sincerity. But here lies the brutal truth. Power does not care what you meant. It only reacts to what you signal. Your intentions are invisible, your behavior is undeniable. And when there is a gap between the two, the world judges you by the signal, not the heart behind it. Machiavelli would laugh at the naivete of believing otherwise, because he knew rulers don't waste time decoding your soul. They respond to what you project in real time. This habit is deadly because it creates blind spots. You think kindness, sincerity, and honesty are enough. You believe that if people knew your heart, they would respect you. But to the powerful, this thinking is weakness. They don't chase down your intentions. They assess your delivery. If your voice trembles, you are weak. If your posture shrinks, you are irrelevant. If your words leak apology, you are insecure. Your inner purity doesn't matter because you have already broadcast your frailty. And frailty is what the powerful filter out instantly. They do not look deeper. They eliminate. The correction is merciless. Stop defending yourself with what you meant. No one cares. Instead, begin mastering how you come across. Treat every word, every pause, every gesture as a signal, because that is all people actually receive. If your intention is good but your delivery is weak, you lose. If your intention is cold but your delivery is solid, you win. Presence is about perception, not morality. Machiavelli would remind you that power does not reward good hearts, it rewards sharp edges. To rise, you must accept this. People will never respect you for what you meant. They will only respect you for what they felt when you spoke. So refine the signal until it is undeniable. Because a man who hides behind intentions is invisible, but a man who owns his signals, regardless of what lies inside, cannot be ignored. The 13th and final habit, the deepest flaw that erases men, is believing influence must be earned. You convince yourself that if you work hard enough, wait long enough, Prove yourself consistently enough, eventually power will recognize you. You see influence as a prize handed down by others, something granted only after years of loyalty, service, and patience. But here is the Machiavellian reality. Influence is never earned. It is assumed. And if assumed with enough conviction, it becomes real. Those who rise do not wait for acknowledgement. They carry themselves as though acknowledgement is inevitable. They don't ask for space. They move like the room adjusts to them. They don't beg to be heard. They speak with the weight of inevitability, as if silence itself demands their words. Influence belongs not to the deserving, but to the man who claims it before anyone else can question it. Machiavelli knew that men who wait are forgotten. The battlefield of presence is not kind to patience. If you enter a room believing your turn will come, you have already surrendered your chance to those who walk in with the posture of ownership. The powerful are not measuring resumes. They are measuring gravity. They look for the man who radiates certainty, who embodies authority without needing introduction. That certainty does not grow out of waiting. It is forged in the assumption of power. To treat influence like something external, something others must grant you, is to declare yourself subordinate before the first move. And subordinates are invisible. The correction is to stop playing the servant's game. Stop waiting for credit. Stop waiting for permission. Move as if your presence is already undeniable. This is not arrogance. It is anchoring. Arrogance shouts, demands, overcompensates. Anchoring is quiet, steady, immovable. It tells the room, I was someone before I walked in. Whether you recognize it or not changes nothing. When you adopt this posture, something shifts. People begin to second-guess themselves around you. They watch you longer. They measure their tone when speaking to you, not because you forced them to, but because you assumed influence until they had no choice but to mirror it. Machiavelli would call this the great deception. Act like you matter and soon you do. Influence is never the reward of waiting. It is the consequence of conviction. Stop trying to earn it. Assume it. Because in the eyes of power, hesitation is death, but certainty is law. Look at each of these habits for what they are, micro-surrenders, small leaks that drain your presence until you've convinced the world you don't exist. Machiavelli warned of this centuries ago. If you don't weaponize posture, tone, silence, and certainty, you'll be dismissed before your first sentence is even processed. You weren't born invisible. You trained yourself to become invisible. And now you must train yourself out of it. Because visibility isn't about being loud. It isn't about being nice. It isn't even about being talented. It's about becoming undeniable, so undeniable that power cannot afford to ignore you. That is how the invisible become unforgettable.